Welcome back, Coinology. This script is written in English and crafted in a conversational but informative style that you can read aloud naturally for a long video. It goes deep into numismatic details, history, collecting culture, grading, markets, and more. Because you asked for extremely long text, this first installment is long but not yet the full 10,000 words. I will continue after this if you want part 2, part 3, etc. You might already know that coins are more than just metal discs used for everyday transactions. They are pieces of history, tiny mirrors reflecting the culture, economics, and art of the society that produced them. Among these, the humble 1-cent coin, often called a penny, might seem unremarkable at first glance. Most people carry them in pockets, jars, and drawers, barely noticing them. But collectors, known as numismatists, look much deeper at even the most common coins. Today we're going to explore one such coin that has captured attention and hearts of collectors around the world, a coin that on the surface looks ordinary but has stories, details, and variations that make it far more interesting than it appears. The 2016 D1-cent coin from the United States, minted in Denver. The 2016 D1-cent coin is part of the Lincoln Cent series, one of the longest-running coin series in U.S. history, first introduced in 1909 to commemorate the 100th anniversary of Abraham Lincoln's birth. For more than a century, the Lincoln Cent has been a fixture in American currency. Most of us recognize the familiar profile of Lincoln on the obverse or front of the coin, and on the reverse or back we see various designs over the years, from meteors to shields. The 2016 D-cent carries the iconic shield reverse design, introduced in 2010 and still used today. It is a design that symbolizes Lincoln's preservation of the United States as a single nation, with the shield representing unity and strength. Now let's describe this coin in meticulous detail so you can picture it clearly. The obverse features a right-facing profile of Abraham Lincoln. Designed by Victor David Brenner in 1909, this image has become one of the most recognized portraits on U.S. coins. Lincoln's expression is calm but resolute, his hair and beard captured in subtle relief. Around his portrait are inscriptions, "In God We Trust" along the top curve, "Liberty" to the left of his image, and the date 2016 to the right. Below the date, near the rim, is a small D mint mark, indicating that this coin was struck at the United States Mint facility in Denver, Colorado. Turn the coin over and you see the reverse, a stylized Union shield with 13 vertical stripes and a horizontal bar across the top. Across the bar is the inscription 1 cent, and above the shield, following the curve of the rim, is United States of America. Along the top edge you see E pluribus unum, the Latin phrase meaning out of many, one. The shield design is rich with symbolism. The vertical stripes represent the original states, and the horizontal bar represents Congress. It is a design that reminds collectors and viewers alike of the unity and resilience of the nation. In terms of physical specifications, this coin weighs approximately 2.5 grams and has a diameter of 19.05 millimeters. It is composed primarily of zinc with a thin copper plating, a combination that has been standard for U.S. cents since 1982. This copper-plated zinc composition gives the coin its familiar reddish-brown color, though many examples in circulation can appear darker or toned with age. The coin's edge is plain, without any reading or decoration, and its surface shows fine details that can range from sharp and crisp on uncirculated examples to worn and smooth on heavily used ones. The story of the 2016 D1-cent coin becomes more intriguing when we talk about value. Most 2016 D pennies are common examples of modern coinage. They are produced in immense quantities, hundreds of millions each year, and most of them remain in circulation. For the everyday person, a 2016 D-cent is still worth exactly what it has always been worth in face value, 1 cent, or 1 cent in U.S. currency. But collectors don't always value coins solely based on face value. They look at rarity, condition, errors, varieties, and demand. This is where the magic happens, where seemingly ordinary coins become objects of fascination and occasionally, objects of significant worth. Collectors use a grading scale to assess a coin's condition. The most widely used scale in the United States is the Sheldon scale, which ranges from poor 1 up to mint state 70. At the lowest end, a poor 1 coin is barely identifiable and badly worn. At the highest end, a mint state 70 coin has perfect surfaces with no imperfections visible at 5x magnification. Most coins you find in change will range from good, G4, to extremely fine, EF40, moderate to light wear, but still showing most design details. Truly exceptional coins, like MS65 or higher, are rare for modern-day coins like the 2016 D penny because most were spent and circulated rather than saved. When collectors talk about the value of a coin like the 2016 D cent, they often mention the basic price guide values. For a typical circulated 2016 D penny, you may see values only slightly above face value. Perhaps a few cents or $1 at most for nicer examples. But when a coin is in superb uncirculated condition, it can be worth more, sometimes $10, $20, or more, especially if it is certified by a professional grading service. These grading companies, like PCGS and NGC, encapsulate the coin and assign an official grade, giving buyers and sellers confidence in the coin's condition. Now, you might have heard stories online or in videos claiming that certain 2016 D pennies are worth tens of thousands or even millions of dollars. It's important to approach such claims with healthy skepticism. The vast majority of 2016 D cents are not rare in themselves, they were minted in large numbers, so their inherent rarity is low. However, what can make a specific coin valuable are things like errors or unique varieties. Error coins occur during the minting process. Sometimes a coin will be struck off-center, meaning the design is not perfectly aligned with the edges. Sometimes multiple strikes occur, leaving ghost-like secondary impressions. There can be die cracks or die breaks where the metal tool used to strike the coin's fractures, leaving strange raised lines on the coin. Certain error coins can attract collector interest because they are unusual and eye-catching. But even error coins have to be significant and dramatic to command high prices. Mild or common errors often only bring modest premiums above face value. Dramatic errors, ones that are visually striking and rare, can be more valuable. Still, finding a genuine, dramatic mint error on a 2016 D penny would be unusual and might draw collector attention, but it would not automatically make the coin worth extremely high figures like 6 or 7 figures. The idea of a 2016 D penny being worth $199 million, nearly $200 million, is almost certainly a misunderstanding or hyperbolic claim often seen in online clickbait where videos promise unbelievable value in common coins. In legitimate numismatic markets, even rare and famous coins rarely approach such astronomical figures unless they possess extraordinary historical significance, extreme rarity, or unique provenance. For example, rare coins from the 18th century or 19th century, or one-of-a-kind trial pieces, or coins with direct linkages to famous historical events can sell for millions. But a modern Lincoln cent from 2016, absent an extraordinary and verified error or pedigree, does not compare to the rarity or historical weight of those famous high-value numismatic treasures. Collectors also look at concepts like pedigrees, the ownership history of certain coins. If a coin was once part of a famous collection or has been documented in significant auctions, it can have added interest. But again, this typically applies to older and genuinely rare coins with limited surviving examples, not to modern cents produced in the hundreds of millions. And now, let's talk about how the market actually works. Coin values are determined by supply and demand. As we continue exploring the 2016 D1 cent coin, we now move deeper into the technical world of minting, grading psychology, collector behavior, and how modern coins like this one sometimes create unexpected excitement in the numismatic market. When people hear that a simple penny could be worth big money, emotions immediately get involved. Hope, curiosity, and sometimes confusion mix together. That is why understanding the real mechanics behind coin value is so important. The 2016 D Lincoln cent was struck at the Denver Mint, one of the major production facilities of the United States mint system. The Denver Mint has been producing coins since 1906, and its D mint mark has appeared on billions of coins. In 2016 alone, hundreds of millions of pennies were struck there. Modern minting technology allows coins to be produced at astonishing speeds, with large mechanical presses striking blanks with enormous force. Each blank, called a planchet, is fed into the press, struck between two dies, and then ejected. This entire process takes a fraction of a second per coin. The dies themselves are hardened steel tools engraved with the coin's design. Over time, these dies wear down. As they wear, small imperfections can develop. Sometimes microscopic cracks form in the die. When this happens, metal flows into the crack during striking, leaving a raised line on the coin known as a die crack. Advanced collectors study these cracks and sometimes classify different die states. Even in a common coin like the 2016 D cent, subtle die variations can exist, though they are rarely rare enough to command significant premiums. One fascinating concept in coin collecting is strike quality. Even though coins are mass-produced, not every coin is struck with equal force. Some strikes are slightly weaker than others. On a 2016 D penny, a strong strike will show very sharp detail in Lincoln's beard, hair, and coat. On the reverse, the vertical lines of the shield will appear crisp and fully separated. A weaker strike might show slight softness in those details. While minor strike differences do not usually create huge value changes, extremely sharp examples in pristine condition are more desirable to high-grade collectors. Another aspect that influences value is luster. Luster refers to the way light reflects off the surface of a coin. When a coin is freshly struck, the microscopic flow lines in the metal create a cartwheel effect as you tilt the coin under light. This shimmering effect is prized in mint-state coins. Once a coin circulates, the luster is disturbed and diminished. On a 2016 D penny, strong original red luster can significantly increase collector appeal. Color classification also plays a role in grading Lincoln cents. Modern copper-plated zinc cents are categorized as red, RD, red-brown, RB, or brown, BN. A fully red coin retains nearly all of its original mint color. Over time, oxidation can cause the copper surface to darken into brown shades. A 2016 D cent graded MS67RD will be more valuable than an MS67BN simply because collectors prefer original red color. However, even the finest red examples are still modern coins with abundant supply. Let's talk about the psychology of hype in the coin market. Occasionally, viral claims circulate online stating that a certain modern penny is worth hundreds of thousands or even millions of dollars. These claims often rely on misunderstanding. For example, someone might see a listing online where a seller is asking an extremely high price for a coin. But asking price does not equal selling price. A coin can be listed for $199 million online, but unless someone actually pays that amount, it has no meaning in real market terms. Real value is determined by completed sales, not hopeful listings. It's also important to distinguish between rare error coins and ordinary circulation coins. Some error coins genuinely do sell for impressive sums. Dramatic off-center strikes, broad strikes, wrong planchet errors, or major doubled dies can attract serious bids. But these errors are rare. Most coins in pocket change are perfectly normal. If you find a 2016 D penny with no obvious dramatic error in average circulation where it remains a 1-cent coin in practical terms, there is another interesting factor in modern coin collecting: condition rarity. Even if millions of coins were minted, very few may survive in absolute top condition. Most 2016 D pennies were immediately placed into circulation. Few people save rolls of modern pennies carefully from the bank. As a result, extremely high-grade examples may be somewhat limited. However, limited does not mean ultra-rare. Population reports from grading services often show hundreds or even thousands of coins at high grades. That level of availability keeps prices moderate rather than astronomical. Collectors who build Lincoln cent sets often seek one example per date and mint mark. The 2016 D fills one slot in that collection. While it is not considered a key date like the famous 1909 SVDB or the 1914 D, it still represents a piece of the ongoing historical timeline of American coinage. Each year tells part of a story. The shield reverse introduced in 2010 marked a new chapter after the Lincoln Bicentennial Series of 2009. By 2016, the shield design had become the standard representation of Lincoln's legacy. It is worth remembering that coin collecting is not only about money. Many collectors enjoy the historical connection, the artistry, and the thrill of searching through pocket change. A 2016 D penny might inspire a young collector to begin learning about mint marks, composition, and grading. That educational value is often more important than speculative value. Let's imagine the scenario where someone claims to have a 2016 D penny worth $199 million. For such a valuation to be remotely plausible, the coin would need to be unique in a historic way. Perhaps struck on an experimental metal never intended for circulation. Perhaps bearing an unprecedented minting error never seen before. Perhaps connected to a significant historical event with documented provenance. Without such extraordinary characteristics, such a valuation is not supported by the realities of the numismatic marketplace. Another concept to understand is liquidity. Rare coins that truly sell for millions usually have strong collector demand and established reputations. Auction houses like Heritage Auctions or Stacksbowers handle record-breaking coin sales. Modern common date pennies do not appear in such record-breaking auctions because their market demand does not justify such exposure. Now consider how you might preserve a 2016 D penny if you believe it is in excellent condition. Handling is crucial. Always hold coins by the edges to avoid fingerprints. Store them in non-PVC holders or coin flips designed for archival storage. Avoid cleaning coins, because cleaning can permanently damage the surface and drastically reduce collector value. Many new collectors make the mistake of polishing coins to make them shiny. In numismatics, originality is valued far more than artificial shine. There is also a broader economic discussion about the future of the penny itself. Rising production costs have led to debates about eliminating the 1-cent coin entirely. In some years, it has cost more than 1 cent to produce a penny. If the United States were ever to discontinue the cent, the final year of issue might gain increased collector interest. While 2016 is not the final year, it exists within this ongoing conversation about currency reform. Ultimately, the true current market value of a standard 2016 D Lincoln cent in circulated condition remains 1 cent. In uncirculated condition, perhaps slightly more, sometimes a small premium if in high grade. Certified top population examples may reach higher prices among registry set competitors, but nowhere near the exaggerated claims sometimes seen online. The coin's real worth lies in its condition, I appeal, and documented rarity rather than sensational figures. In the world of coin collecting, knowledge is power. The more you learn about minting processes, grading standards, and market dynamics, the better equipped you are to evaluate claims and make informed decisions. The 2016 D penny serves as a perfect example of how everyday objects can inspire curiosity and research. It teaches us that value is not just about numbers, it is about context, verification, and community consensus. As we continue even deeper into the world of the 2016 D1 cent coin, it becomes important to step back and truly understand how modern coins fit into the larger timeline of numismatic history. Many collectors focus heavily on older coins because age naturally limits surviving examples. However, modern coins like the 2016 D cent exist in a fascinating transitional era at the time when mint technology is highly advanced, production numbers are massive, and yet interest in collecting continues to grow through online communities, registry competitions, and social media exposure. When you examine a 2016 D penny under magnification, especially at 5x or 10x power, you begin to see the microscopic details that casual observers never notice. The fine lines in Lincoln's hair are sharply engraved. The contours of his coat and bow tie show subtle relief. The lettering of "In God We Trust" and "Liberty" is crisp, with clean edges. On the reverse, the vertical stripes of the Union shield display carefully spaced grooves. The horizontal banner bearing 1 cent is bold and centered. The quality control of modern mints ensures that most coins leave the facility with excellent clarity. However, perfection in large-scale manufacturing is nearly impossible. Even in 2016, slight variations in pressure, planchet quality, or die work can produce minor differences. Some coins may show small contact marks from the minting process itself. These are known as bag marks, and they occur when freshly struck coins collide with one another in large bins. For collectors seeking extremely high-grade coins, even tiny marks can mean the difference between MS66 and MS67. That single-point difference can sometimes multiply the coin's value several times over, especially in registry set competition. Registry sets have become a major driver in modern coin values. Online platforms hosted by grading companies allow collectors to compete by assembling the highest graded examples of each coin in a series. Points are awarded based on grade rarity. If only a small number of 2016 D pennies exist in MS68 red, collectors competing for top registry rankings may bid aggressively to secure one. This competition can temporarily elevate prices for specific high-grade examples. However, these elevated prices are still within the realm of hundreds or occasionally thousands of dollars, not millions. Let's explore the minting facility itself for a moment. The Denver Mint has long been one of the busiest coin production facilities in the United States. Established in the early 20th century, it serves as a central hub for producing circulating coinage. The D mint mark is placed carefully on the die before striking begins. On the 2016 D penny, this mint mark appears just below the date. Its presence confirms the coin's origin. Mint marks are important to collectors because different facilities can produce slightly different mintages each year. In earlier decades, certain mint marks corresponded to low production numbers, making them key dates. But in 2016, production numbers remained high enough that rarity was not created by mint location alone. Now consider the metal composition again. Since 1982, the cent has been made primarily of zinc with a copper plating. The weight is approximately 2.5 grams. Zinc is less durable than solid copper, which is why modern cents sometimes show bubbling or surface issues if the plating is compromised. If moisture reaches the zinc core, corrosion can occur beneath the copper layer. This is one reason why finding a pristine 2016 D cent decades from now might be slightly more challenging than finding older bronze cents that resist corrosion better. Over long periods, environmental exposure may reduce the number of flawless survivors. Another factor influencing long-term value is survival rate in high grade. While millions were minted, how many will remain in untouched mint condition 30 or 40 years from now? Many will circulate. Many will be damaged. Many will corrode. A small percentage will be preserved in rolls or albums. Among those, an even smaller percentage will qualify for top certification grades. This concept is known as conditional scarcity, where a coin is common overall but scarce in elite condition levels. However, even conditional scarcity must be placed in context. For a coin to reach extreme values, it usually requires both scarcity and broad collector demand. The 2016 D penny, while interesting, does not hold the same historical mystique as early 20th century key dates or 19th century rarities. Therefore, its demand ceiling is naturally limited. Let's address another common misunderstanding. Sometimes people weigh their 2016 D penny and believe a slightly different weight indicates a rare metal error. A normal tolerance range exists in mint production. Slight weight variation within a fraction of a gram does not automatically indicate a rare planchet error. A genuine wrong planchet error, such as a penny struck on a dime blank, would have dramatically different size and appearance. Such errors are rare and easily distinguishable from minor scale variations. Lighting also plays a role in perceived value. Under certain lighting conditions, a coin might appear to have doubling or strange patterns. True doubled die errors, however, are created during the die manufacturing process and show consistent separation lines in the design elements. Mechanical doubling, which is more common, results from slight die movement during striking and usually does not add significant value. Understanding this difference prevents collectors from overestimating ordinary coins. Let's also consider the secondary market. Coin dealers evaluate modern cents differently than classic rarities. Dealers often buy modern rolls in bulk, searching for top-quality examples to submit for grading. But because grading fees can exceed the potential resale value, it only makes sense to submit coins that appear exceptionally flawless. This economic calculation limits how many 2016 D cents are certified each year. Over time, population reports stabilize as most high-grade examples are identified. Another fascinating aspect is the role of misinformation in driving public curiosity. Viral posts claiming that a common penny is worth $199 million generate massive attention. People rush to check their pocket change. While such claims are unrealistic, they sometimes spark genuine interest in coin collecting. A person who begins by chasing a viral rumor may eventually learn about real numismatic history and become a knowledgeable collector. In that way, even exaggerated stories can indirectly promote education. Now imagine fast-forwarding 50 years into the future. The year is 2066. A collector looks back at early 21st century coinage. The 2016 D penny represents a snapshot of American life in the mid-2010s. It reflects economic conditions, production technology, and artistic continuity. While it may never command extraordinary sums, it will still represent a preserved artifact from its era. History assigns meaning gradually. What seems common today may gain modest collectible status simply because it survived intact. The broader lesson from the 2016 D penny is about perspective. Value in numismatics comes from documented rarity, verified condition, historical significance, and sustained collector interest. Extraordinary valuations require extraordinary evidence. Without unique errors, provenance, or record-setting grades with intense competition, a modern penny remains modest in financial worth. Still, there is something captivating about holding a coin and imagining possibilities. The thrill of discovery drives collectors to examine coins carefully. The 2016 D penny may not realistically be worth millions, but it offers something equally valuable: the opportunity to learn. It teaches how mints operate, how metals behave, how grading works, and how markets function. As we move further into this deep exploration of the 2016 D1 coin, it becomes important to analyze how modern coins transition from simple circulating currency into collectible assets over time. Every coin that is rare today was once common. Every famous key date once passed through the hands of ordinary people who never imagined it would one day command serious premiums. That historical pattern is what keeps curiosity alive around coins like the 2016 D Lincoln Cent. To truly understand where the 2016 D penny stands, we need to look at the broader Lincoln Cent series. Since its introduction in 1909, the Lincoln Cent has gone through multiple reverse design changes, from the original wheat ears reverse that lasted until 1958, to the Lincoln Memorial reverse from 1959 to 2008, to the special bicentennial designs in 2009, and then finally to the Union Shield reverse beginning in 2010. By 2016, the shield design had become firmly established as the modern identity of the series. This continuity gives the 2016 D penny a place in a stable era of design rather than a transitional one, which generally limits sudden spikes in collector demand. When collectors talk about key dates, they are referring to coins with low mintages or unique historical circumstances that resulted in limited surviving examples. The 2016 D penny does not fall into that category because its mintage numbers were substantial. However, rarity is not defined only by mintage. It is defined by surviving high-grade populations and by distinctive varieties. That brings us back to the concept of micro-variations. In some years, subtle die variations are discovered years after coins enter circulation. Collectors who carefully study coins under magnification may notice minor differences in letter spacing, die polishing lines, or slight anomalies in the design. While most of these differences are too small to create major value shifts, occasionally a true variety gains recognition in numismatic reference guides. If such a variety were discovered in the 2016 D series and confirmed by experts, it could generate modest premiums among specialized collectors. Another interesting factor is roll hunting. Many collectors visit banks to obtain unopened rolls of pennies. They search through these rolls looking for high-grade coins or unusual errors. Because modern pennies like the 2016 D are still relatively recent, unopened original bankrolls may still exist. Some collectors store entire rolls in sealed containers, hoping that decades in the future, pristine examples will be scarcer. This long-term preservation strategy has been practiced for generations. However, because so many people now understand this concept, large numbers of modern rolls are preserved, which reduces future rarity compared to earlier decades when fewer people saved coins intentionally. Let's also explore the economics behind coin production. Producing a penny costs more than 1 cent in many years due to metal prices and manufacturing costs. This economic imbalance has fueled debates about discontinuing the penny entirely. If the United States were ever to eliminate the cent from circulation, collectors might look back at final production years with heightened interest. Although 2016 is not a final year, it belongs to a period when the debate about eliminating the penny intensified. That broader historical conversation adds subtle context to the coin's timeline. Condition remains the single most important determinant of value for modern coins. A circulated 2016 D penny is worth face value. A brilliant uncirculated example with full red luster might command a small premium. A certified MS67 red coin may attract competitive bidding from registry collectors. But the difference between MS66 and MS67 often comes down to microscopic marks invisible to the naked eye. Grading is both art and science. Even experienced graders sometimes debate borderline cases. Another subject worth discussing is long-term inflation. Some people assume that because inflation reduces purchasing power over time, coins will automatically rise in value. However, inflation alone does not make a common coin rare. While face value remains constant at 1 cent, collectible value depends on supply and demand within the collector market. If supply remains abundant, inflation does not transform it into a rarity. It is also crucial to address the impact of online marketplaces. Platforms where individuals list coins for sale often show exaggerated asking prices. A seller may list a 2016 D penny for thousands or even millions of dollars, but that listing does not represent actual market value unless someone completes the purchase. Real value is determined by documented sales, especially those conducted through reputable auctions or verified dealer transactions. Now consider hypothetical extreme scenarios. For a 2016 D penny to truly be worth extraordinary money, it would require something historically unprecedented, perhaps a one-of-a-kind minting error confirmed by the US Mint itself. Maybe a coin struck on an experimental alloy never released to the public, with official documentation proving its uniqueness. In numismatic history, coins with such extraordinary circumstances have achieved record prices. But without such documentation and rarity, claims of massive value remain unsupported. Let's return to the artistry of the coin itself. The Lincoln portrait is one of the longest-running designs in American coinage. Victor David Brenner's original sculpture has endured for more than a century, though slight modifications have been made over time. The shield reverse introduced in 2010 was designed to symbolize unity after the Civil War, an enduring tribute to Lincoln's leadership. The 2016 D penny continues this artistic legacy, connecting modern Americans with a tradition that began in 1909. Collectors often describe the joy of finding a nearly flawless coin in everyday change. Even though the monetary value might be small, the satisfaction of discovering a bright red, sharply struck 2016 D penny among worn coins can feel rewarding. That excitement is part of what keeps the hobby alive. It is less about guaranteed profit and more about curiosity and discovery. There is also the educational value. A young collector who starts by examining a 2016 D penny may begin researching mint marks, learning about die production, and understanding grading scales. From there, they might explore older coins, expanding their knowledge of American history and economics. In this sense, even a common coin plays a meaningful role in inspiring learning. Let's examine potential future outlook. Over the next several decades, as coins continue circulating and some are lost, damaged, or melted accidentally, the number of pristine survivors may decrease. Yet because so many were produced and preserved, the coin is unlikely to become extremely scarce. Its future collectible value will likely remain modest but stable among date and mint collectors. One must also understand that numismatics rewards patience and realism. Extraordinary returns usually come from rare coins purchased knowledgeably, not from common coins discovered through viral claims. The 2016 D penny is best appreciated as part of a complete Lincoln cent collection rather than as a speculative jackpot. Still, the narrative surrounding coins like this reveals something powerful about human psychology. The idea that an everyday object could secretly be worth millions sparks imagination. It encourages people to look closer at their surroundings. And sometimes, that closer look leads to genuine discoveries, though usually not of modern common date sense. As we continue this detailed journey, there is still more to analyze. We can explore advanced grading case studies, compare 2016 D to other modern Denver issues, discuss the science of metal aging, and evaluate the realistic long-term investment potential of modern coinage. If you're ready, we can move forward into Part 5 and continue expanding this in-depth examination of the 2016 D 1 cent coin, diving even deeper into every possible angle surrounding its value, rarity, and future in the collector market. As we move even deeper into this long and detailed exploration of the 2016 D 1 cent coin, it's time to examine the long-term collector mindset and how modern coins evolve in the marketplace over decades. Many collectors who are active today understand that coin collecting is not a get-rich-quick activity. Instead, it is a long-term pursuit built on knowledge, patience, preservation, and careful evaluation. The 2016 D Lincoln cent fits perfectly into this broader understanding of how coins move from circulation into collectible categories. When a coin is first released, like the 2016 D penny was, it enters circulation in massive quantities. Banks distribute boxes of cents. Businesses hand them out as change. Most people barely look at them. At this stage, there is virtually no collector premium for standard examples. But behind the scenes, serious collectors are already searching for the very best specimens. They acquire original bankrolls, carefully open them, inspect each coin under magnification, and separate the sharpest, cleanest pieces. The difference between an average uncirculated 2016 D penny and an elite condition example can be almost invisible without magnification. A tiny contact mark on Lincoln's cheek, a faint nick on the shield lines, or a small spot of discoloration can prevent a coin from achieving a top-tier grade. Professional grading services examine coins under bright lights and magnification, evaluating strike quality, surface preservation, luster, and eye appeal. For a modern penny to receive a grade like MS67 or higher, it must be nearly flawless. Now let's explore the concept of grading submissions more deeply. Submitting a coin for grading costs money. There are shipping fees, insurance, grading fees, and membership costs in some cases. Because a standard 2016 D penny in circulated condition is worth face value, it would make no financial sense to submit it for grading. Only coins that appear exceptional are worth the investment. This economic filter limits the number of high-grade certified coins entering the population reports. Over time, as more collectors submit coins, population reports begin to stabilize. If a large number of 2016 D pennies receive MS66 grades but only a small fraction reach MS67, the MS67 examples may command stronger premiums. However, this premium exists within reason. Even if only a few hundred coins achieve that level, the value is still governed by collector demand. Without strong demand, scarcity alone cannot push prices to extreme heights. Another factor influencing value is market saturation. If multiple high-grade 2016 D pennies appear at auction simultaneously, buyers have choices. When supply exceeds immediate demand, prices soften. When a top-grade example appears rarely and registry competitors are actively building sets, bidding can become more aggressive. Timing plays a role in short-term price fluctuations. Let's consider how environmental factors affect modern cents. Because the 2016 D penny is copper-plated zinc, it is more susceptible to surface issues if improperly stored. Humidity, temperature changes, and exposure to chemicals can cause spotting or discoloration. Over decades, improperly stored coins may develop corrosion beneath the plating. As a result, pristine red examples preserved in ideal conditions may become somewhat less common relative to total mintage. But again, the starting mintage was so high that true rarity remains unlikely. There is also an important distinction between intrinsic value and collectible value. Older copper cents contain more copper by weight and therefore have a small intrinsic metal value based on copper prices. The 2016 D penny, being primarily zinc, does not have significant intrinsic metal value. Its worth is tied entirely to face value and collector demand. This means that its future price movement depends entirely on numismatic interest rather than metal markets. Now imagine a collector 30 years from now examining coins from the early 2000s. They may seek to complete a full date and mint set of Lincoln Shield cents. The 2016 D will occupy one slot. It will likely remain accessible and affordable for most collectors. This accessibility is not a weakness, it is part of what keeps the hobby inclusive. Not every coin must be rare to be meaningful. Let's address once again the idea of extreme valuations like $199 million. In numismatic history, coins that achieve multi-million-dollar prices usually share certain traits: extreme rarity, historical importance, documented provenance, and strong collector competition. For example, early American gold coins, unique pattern coins, or famous minting errors from the 18th or 19th century have reached such levels. A standard modern circulation penny does not possess those characteristics. Understanding this protects collectors from misinformation and unrealistic expectations. The world of coin collecting also thrives on community. Coin clubs, online forums, and trade shows allow collectors to share discoveries. If a significant 2016 D variety were ever found, news would spread quickly through these communities. Experts would examine the coin. If validated, it would be cataloged and referenced in price guides. Until such a documented discovery occurs, the coin remains categorized as a common modern issue. Another layer of interest lies in generational collecting habits. Younger collectors who grew up in the 2010s may feel nostalgic about coins from their childhood. Nostalgia sometimes fuels demand decades later. While nostalgia alone does not create million-dollar value, it can sustain modest premiums for well-preserved examples of everyday objects from a specific era. Let's also discuss the aesthetic experience. A fully red 2016 D penny under proper lighting can appear vibrant and beautiful. The reflective luster creates a cartwheel effect that rotates as the coin is tilted. The shield lines on the reverse catch the light in precise symmetry. Even though it is a small denomination coin, the craftsmanship reflects over a century of design refinement. From an investment perspective, modern common date pennies are generally not recommended as primary financial investments. Their appreciation potential is limited compared to genuinely scarce coins. However, collecting them as part of a complete series can provide satisfaction and educational value. Knowledge gained from studying coins often leads collectors to more advanced areas of numismatics. If we consider the broader historical arc, coins from every generation eventually become artifacts. The 2016 D penny represents mid-2010s America, its economy, its minting technology, its artistic continuity. In that sense, it has historical value even if not extraordinary monetary value. The most important lesson here is balance. It is exciting to imagine finding a fortune in pocket change. But it is wiser to approach coin collecting with curiosity, research, and realistic expectations. The 2016 D 1-cent coin is an interesting piece of modern coinage. It can be worth slightly more than face value in high uncirculated grades. It can be educational. It can be collectible. But without extraordinary documented rarity, it does not realistically reach extreme valuations, and yet, the journey of understanding it, from design and composition to grading and market dynamics, provides a deeper appreciation for how coins function both as currency and as historical objects. There is still more to explore: advanced error case studies, hypothetical future scenarios, long-term survival rates, and how technology may impact grading in decades to come. As we continue even further into this deep and extended journey through the world of the 2016 D 1-cent coin, we now move into a more advanced layer of analysis, examining long-term numismatic cycles, technological evolution in grading, the economics of mint production, and how perception influences price more than most people realize. By now, you understand that the 2016 D penny is not simply a 1-cent piece. It is a modern artifact that sits within a much larger system of history, economics, psychology, and collecting culture. Let us begin with numismatic cycles. Coin collecting, like many hobbies and markets, moves in waves. There are periods of intense excitement where prices rise rapidly, and there are quieter periods where interest stabilizes. Modern coins often experience brief bursts of attention when registry competition increases or when a new variety is discovered. The 2016 D penny exists within the modern era, meaning its value is closely tied to collector activity rather than intrinsic scarcity. In earlier centuries, low mintages occurred because of limited production capacity. Today, production is massive and efficient. That means modern coins must rely on conditional rarity rather than absolute rarity. Conditional rarity means that only coins in the absolute highest condition grades become scarce. This is where grading technology becomes crucial. Over the past 2 decades, grading services have incorporated more advanced tools, high-resolution imaging, digital archiving, and standardized grading frameworks. Some experts predict that in the future, artificial intelligence may assist in grading coins, analyzing microscopic imperfections with greater consistency than human eyes alone. If that happens, population reports could become even more precise. For a coin like the 2016 D penny, such technology would likely confirm that while many coins exist, very few achieve absolute perfection. Yet perfection in a modern coin still does not automatically translate to massive monetary value without extraordinary demand. Let's explore demand more deeply. Demand is driven by collectors who want to complete sets, compete in registries, or specialize in certain years. The Lincoln Cents series is popular because it spans over a century and is affordable for beginners. However, within that popularity, attention is usually focused on historically important dates, early 1900s issues, rare mint marks, or famous varieties. The 2016 D penny does not carry historical drama. It was minted during a relatively stable period of American coinage. That stability, while positive for currency production, limits speculative excitement. Another important concept is market transparency. Today, auction results are widely available online. Collectors can see exactly what coins have sold for in verified transactions. This transparency prevents unrealistic valuations from gaining long-term traction. If a 2016 D penny were truly worth hundreds of thousands or millions of dollars, documented sales would appear in major auction archives. Without such records, claims remain unsupported. Now consider survival rate modeling. Imagine that over 2 billion pennies were minted across all facilities in 2016, with a significant portion from Denver. Even if only 1% of those survive in pristine uncirculated condition decades from now, that still represents millions of coins. Even if only a fraction of 1% remain at elite grades, there would still be thousands available. That scale of survival prevents extreme scarcity. Let's examine hypothetical scenarios once more. Suppose a mint employee accidentally used a wrong experimental alloy for a small batch of 2016 D pennies, and those coins somehow entered circulation unnoticed. If documented and verified, that would create a truly rare and historically significant variety. In such a case, prices could rise dramatically. But such scenarios are extraordinarily rare and usually discovered quickly. The U.S. Mint maintains tight quality control procedures, making large undiscovered experimental releases highly unlikely. We should also examine the concept of perceived rarity. Sometimes collectors believe a coin is rare because they personally have not encountered it often. But personal experience does not equal statistical rarity. A coin's true rarity is determined by total mintage, survival estimates, and population data. The 2016 D penny remains statistically common. Now let's talk about long-term preservation. If you are determined to keep a 2016 D penny in top condition, storage matters. Use acid-free holders. Avoid PVC plastic flips. Store coins in low humidity environments. Avoid temperature fluctuations. Do not clean the coin. Even light wiping can leave hairline scratches visible under magnification, permanently reducing grade potential. Modern red cents are particularly sensitive to improper handling because their copper plating can react to oils and environmental contaminants. The cultural context also plays a role in future collectability. In the mid-2010s, digital payments were rapidly increasing. Physical coin usage was slowly declining in some areas. This broader societal shift may one day make physical coins from this era symbolic of a transitional financial period. That symbolic value may increase collector nostalgia, but again, symbolism alone does not create multi-million-dollar valuations. From a financial perspective, modern pennies are generally considered hobby collectibles rather than investment vehicles. Serious investors in numismatics typically focus on coins with established rarity and long auction histories. The 2016 D penny does not yet fall into that category. Its role is educational, accessible, and incremental within a larger series, yet we must acknowledge something important: every coin has a story. The 2016 D penny was struck, counted, bagged, shipped, distributed, spent, and passed from hand to hand. Some were saved immediately. Some circulated heavily. Some were lost. Some were placed into collections by young enthusiasts. Each coin has traveled through the economy, quietly participating in daily life. That journey gives it character, even if not extraordinary price. The fascination with extreme valuations like $199 million reveals something deeper about human nature. People are drawn to the idea that hidden treasure might exist in everyday objects. This curiosity fuels exploration. In rare cases, genuine treasures are discovered. But most of the time, the reward is knowledge rather than fortune. If we project decades into the future, the 2016 D penny will likely remain a common modern date within the Lincoln Shield series. High-grade examples may command modest premiums among dedicated registry competitors. Circulated examples will likely remain face value items or bulk collectibles. The coin's greatest value lies in what it teaches about grading, preservation, minting processes, and realistic market evaluation. And now, as we reach this stage of the journey, there are still more advanced dimensions we can explore: the mathematics of population rarity curves, comparisons with other modern denominations, the impact of coin roll hoarding trends, and how generational wealth cycles affect collectible markets. This extended deep dive into the 2016 D1 cent coin, we now reach the most analytical level of understanding, where economics, statistics, psychology, long-term collectible behavior, and historical patterns all connect together. By this point, you already understand the coin's basic specifications: minted in Denver, marked with a D, weighing approximately 2.5 grams, composed of copper-plated zinc, bearing Abraham Lincoln on the obverse and the Union Shield on the reverse. But now we examine the broader forces that ultimately determine its destiny in the collecting world. Let's begin with mathematical scarcity modeling. Imagine that hundreds of millions of 2016 D pennies were minted. Now apply layers of reduction over time. First, some are lost or destroyed. Second, some are heavily circulated and damaged beyond collectible quality. Third, some are hoarded in jars but not preserved properly. Fourth, some are intentionally saved in rolls. Fifth, a small percentage are carefully preserved in pristine condition. Finally, among those pristine examples, an even smaller percentage are certified in elite grades by professional grading services. If you imagine this as a pyramid, the base is enormous, hundreds of millions. As you move upward toward the peak of absolute perfection, the numbers shrink dramatically. But here is the key point: even if only 0.01% reach elite condition, that still represents thousands of coins because the original mintage was so large. This is why modern coins rarely become extreme rarities. Next, consider long-term supply versus collector base growth. For a coin to increase significantly in value, demand must grow faster than available supply. The Lincoln Cents series has a steady collector base, but it does not expand at explosive rates year after year. The hobby grows gradually. Therefore, demand for a specific modern date like 2016D remains relatively stable rather than surging unpredictably. Now let's examine registry competition more deeply. Registry sets reward collectors for assembling the highest graded coins. In some cases, the top-ranked collector may want the single finest known example of a date. If population reports show only a handful at the highest grade, bidding competition can intensify. However, even in these scenarios, values remain proportionate to the level of competition. Once a top collector secures their example, bidding pressure can cool quickly. This creates temporary spikes rather than permanent price explosions. Another advanced concept is grading inflation over time. In some collecting areas, grading standards shift slightly as populations grow. If grading becomes more precise or stricter in the future, the number of top-graded coins might stabilize. Alternatively, if more coins are submitted and found to meet high-grade criteria, populations could rise, limiting premium growth. The 2016D penny, being modern, is subject to these dynamics. We must also consider liquidity risk. Liquidity refers to how easily an item can be sold at market value. Highly valuable rare coins often have strong liquidity because there is a well-established collector base and auction history. Modern common date coins, even in high grade, may require patience to find the right buyer. This affects real-world pricing power. Let's talk about the broader monetary system context. In the mid-2010s, digital payments, online banking, and mobile transactions expanded rapidly. Physical coin usage slowly declined in certain regions. If future generations use coins less frequently, physical currency from this era could become nostalgic artifacts. However, nostalgia alone does not override massive supply numbers. We should also evaluate the cost-to-benefit ratio of long-term hoarding. Suppose someone saves 10,000 pristine 2016D pennies in sealed storage. Decades later, even if each coin rises modestly in value to perhaps a few dollars in high grade, the overall return must be weighed against inflation and opportunity cost. Most financial advisors would consider such hoarding inefficient compared to diversified investments. That is why modern pennies are primarily collected for enjoyment rather than large-scale investment. Another dimension is error coin probability. In massive production runs, small numbers of genuine mint errors occur. But quality control systems detect many of them before distribution. Dramatic errors, such as major off-center strikes or wrong planchet strikes, are rare and usually identified quickly by collectors. If a unique 2016D mint error were discovered and authenticated, it could achieve meaningful value. But such cases are exceptional and cannot be assumed for standard coins. Let's also consider long-term metal stability. Zinc core cents are more vulnerable to environmental damage than older solid bronze cents. This could slightly reduce the number of surviving flawless examples over very long periods. However, since many are stored in controlled environments, the reduction will not likely be severe enough to create extreme rarity. From a historical storytelling perspective, the 2016D penny represents stability in American coinage. It was not a redesign year. It was not a transitional metal year. It was not associated with a major mint crisis. It was simply part of the continuing Lincoln Shield era. This stability is good for continuity but limits dramatic collectible narratives. Now let's examine behavioral economics. Humans often overestimate low-probability high-reward events. The idea that a common penny could secretly be worth $199 million triggers excitement. That excitement spreads rapidly online. But real markets operate on documentation, verification, and rational bidding. The gap between emotional hype and factual market data is often enormous. As we project far into the future, perhaps 75 or 100 years from now, most 2016 D pennies will likely remain common. Some pristine examples will survive in collections. High-grade certified coins may hold modest premiums among dedicated collectors. But unless an extraordinary undiscovered variety emerges, the coin will likely remain a common modern issue. However, none of this diminishes its educational value. The 2016 D penny serves as a perfect teaching tool. Through studying it, collectors learn about mint marks, composition changes, grading standards, preservation methods, auction data, market psychology, and long-term historical cycles. In many ways, that knowledge is far more valuable than speculative price claims. At this advanced stage of analysis, we can conclude that the true worth of the 2016 D 1-cent coin depends on context. In daily commerce, it is worth 1 cent. In uncirculated high-grade condition, it may be worth a small premium. In certified elite condition, it may attract competitive registry bids within realistic boundaries. In terms of exaggerated claims of astronomical value, there is no documented evidence to support such figures, yet the journey of exploring this coin, understanding every layer from minting to market psychology, reveals the depth of numismatics as a field. Even the most common coin can open the door to advanced economic and historical discussions. As we enter part 8 of this deep and extended exploration of the 2016 D 1-cent coin, we now move into the most speculative, comparative, and forward-looking stage of the discussion. At this level, we examine hypothetical discovery scenarios, compare the 2016 D penny to historically valuable Lincoln cents, analyze preservation science in greater technical detail, and forecast its realistic long-term collectible position across generations. Let us begin with historical comparison. Throughout the history of the Lincoln cent series, only a handful of dates have achieved truly legendary status. Those coins share common traits: very low mintages, unexpected production errors, or strong historical narratives. For example, early 20th century issues with extremely limited output or famous design controversies became highly sought after decades later. These coins were not merely common coins that survived, they were coins with distinct stories that separated them from the mass of ordinary production. The 2016 D penny does not share those initial characteristics. It was minted in a modern, technologically advanced facility with strong quality control and high production numbers. There was no dramatic metal change, no major design controversy, no limited strike release, and no unexpected shutdown that restricted supply. From a historical standpoint, it represents continuity rather than disruption. In numismatics, disruption often creates rarity. Now let us imagine a hypothetical extreme discovery scenario. Suppose, decades from now, researchers uncover documentation proving that a very small experimental batch of 2016 D cents was struck on a transitional alloy never intended for circulation, perhaps an early test of a new metal composition. Suppose only a few dozen examples were released unknowingly. If such coins were authenticated and officially recognized, they would instantly become major rarities within the Lincoln cent series. In that scenario, values could rise significantly. But notice the key word, documented. Without official documentation and expert authentication, such claims remain speculation. Another hypothetical scenario involves a dramatic mint error that escaped detection. For instance, a double denomination error where a previously struck coin was overstruck with the 2016 D design, creating a unique layered appearance. Or a broad strike combined with a die cap error resulting in an unusually distorted but visually dramatic piece. Such extreme mint errors can achieve impressive auction results because they are genuinely rare and visually compelling. However, these are individual anomalies, not representative of the standard 2016 D penny population. Now let's shift toward preservation science. Copper-plated zinc coins, like the 2016 D cent, present unique preservation challenges. The thin copper layer is only microns thick. If damaged, the underlying zinc core becomes vulnerable to oxidation. When zinc oxidizes, it can create bubbling beneath the plating. Over long periods, improperly stored coins may develop spotting or corrosion. This means that preserving a flawless red example requires careful environmental control. Experts recommend low humidity levels, stable temperatures, and inert storage materials. Archival quality holders made of mylar or non-PVC materials are preferred. Silica gel packets can help reduce moisture in storage containers. Direct contact with skin oils should be avoided. Even microscopic fingerprints can eventually tone or discolor the copper surface. Now let's project 40 to 60 years into the future. Many 2016D pennies will have been heavily circulated or damaged. A smaller percentage will remain in mint rolls. An even smaller portion will be certified in high grades. Could the highest grade examples appreciate modestly? Yes, that is possible, especially if registry competition remains active. But appreciation will likely be incremental rather than explosive. Another factor to consider is generational transition. As older collectors pass down collections, younger generations inherit coins. The sustainability of coin values depends on continued interest. If future generations maintain enthusiasm for physical coin collecting, modern issues like the 2016D penny will continue to hold modest collector value. If interest declines significantly, demand could soften. Let's compare this with historically valuable cents. Many high-value Lincoln cents achieved their status because their rarity was not recognized immediately. Low mintages combined with heavy circulation reduced survival numbers before collectors realized their scarcity. In contrast, modern collectors are highly aware of mintages and preservation methods. Large quantities of modern coins are saved intentionally. This awareness reduces the chance of unexpected rarity decades later. We should also examine global economic stability. Rare coins sometimes benefit during periods of financial uncertainty because tangible assets gain attention. However, investors seeking tangible assets usually focus on precious metals or genuinely rare historical coins, not modern circulation pennies. Now let's return to the emotional element. The idea that a simple 2016D penny could be worth $199 million captures imagination. It invites viewers to check their pockets. It creates excitement and curiosity. But true numismatic value is rooted in evidence. Extraordinary claims require extraordinary proof. Without auction records, authentication, and recognized rarity, such valuations remain fictional. However, there is something profound here. Even if the 2016D penny is not worth millions, it still connects us to a continuous tradition that began in 1909. It carries the likeness of Abraham Lincoln, a president whose leadership shaped American history. It carries the Union Shield, symbolizing unity. It represents a specific year in time, 2016, a year with its own political, economic, and cultural events. In that sense, it is a preserved time capsule. If we forecast realistically, the 2016D penny will likely remain a common modern issue for many decades. Circulated examples will stay at face value. Uncirculated red examples may carry small premiums. Certified high-grade pieces may maintain modest competitive value within registry circles. Dramatic documented errors, if found, could achieve specialized premiums. But absent extraordinary circumstances, astronomical valuations are not supported by market fundamentals. At this stage, we have examined design, weight, composition, minting technology, grading science, population modeling, psychological hype, long-term preservation, economic theory, hypothetical error discovery, and generational forecasting. The coin's real power lies not in unrealistic price claims, but in the knowledge it provides. It serves as a gateway into understanding how numismatic markets truly function. As we move into this extensive exploration of the 2016 D1 cent coin, we now arrive at the stage where we combine everything: economics, historical comparison, collector psychology, market analytics, supply modeling, long-term forecasting, and realistic valuation into one unified understanding. At this point, the 2016 D penny is no longer just a coin. It becomes a case study in how modern numismatics truly works. Let us begin with ultra-deep market analytics. In any collectible market, whether coins, stamps, art, or trading cards, price is determined by four core pillars: rarity, condition, demand, and liquidity. Remove one of these pillars and the structure weakens. For the 2016 D penny, rarity at the base level is low due to high mintage. Condition: rarity exists at the extreme upper levels, but not in ultra-limited numbers. Demand exists, but it is stable rather than explosive. Liquidity exists, but mostly within the modern coin collecting community. When you evaluate all four pillars together, you get a realistic market ceiling that remains moderate rather than astronomical. Now let's compare the 2016 D penny with other modern denominations from the same era. Modern quarters, dimes, nickels, and cents are all produced in massive quantities. Occasionally, a specific variety or error draws attention. But standard circulation strikes from stable production years rarely achieve extraordinary premiums. Even modern commemorative coins with lower mintages sometimes struggle to appreciate significantly because collector supply awareness prevents surprise scarcity. We must also analyze the difference between absolute rarity and conditional rarity in numerical terms. Suppose the Denver Mint produced over 1 billion cents in 2016. Even if only 0.005% survive in near-perfect MS68 red condition, that still results in thousands of coins. In comparison, legendary rare coins from earlier centuries may have total surviving populations in the dozens or hundreds. That difference in scale is enormous and explains why modern coins almost never approach multi-million-dollar territory without unique historical circumstances. Now let's discuss the concept of price ceilings. Every collectible has a natural ceiling determined by the size of its collector base and the depth of available supply. For the 2016 D penny, the collector base includes Lincoln cent enthusiasts, registry competitors, and general modern coin collectors. That base is healthy but not large enough to support extreme price surges for a common date. Even if a top population example appears at auction, competitive bidding would likely stay within realistic modern coin boundaries. We also need to talk about opportunity cost. Serious investors analyze what else their money could accomplish. For example, if someone had $10,000 to invest in coins, they might choose a rare early 20th century key date or a scarce gold coin with strong auction history rather than modern circulation pennies. That capital allocation behavior shapes market outcomes. It limits the amount of serious investment capital flowing into common modern issues. Now let's evaluate long-term population behavior. Over decades, coins disappear gradually. They are lost, damaged, melted accidentally, or destroyed in natural disasters. However, in the modern era, millions of coins are intentionally preserved by collectors. Entire sealed boxes remain untouched in storage. Because of this preservation awareness, modern coins rarely become unexpectedly rare later in history. Another dimension is grading saturation. In the early years of third-party grading, many coins were not yet certified. As grading became more common, population reports grew rapidly. For the 2016 D penny, certification activity likely occurred soon after release. That means population data for high-grade examples stabilized relatively quickly. Once populations are known, price speculation becomes limited because supply estimates are transparent. We should also address the cultural shift toward digital assets. Younger generations often invest in digital collectibles, stocks, or cryptocurrencies rather than physical coins. While coin collecting remains active, growth is moderate rather than explosive. This influences long-term demand for modern circulation coins. And now, let's consider the realistic current market value summary. A circulated 2016 D penny remains worth 1 cent. An uncirculated roll may carry a small premium above face value. Individual uncirculated red examples might sell for modest amounts. Certified high-grade examples may command higher prices among registry competitors, but within rational limits. There is no verified evidence supporting extreme valuations such as $199 million for a standard 2016 D penny. However, let's imagine a final extreme scenario: a one-of-a-kind documented mint error combined with historical documentation and confirmed uniqueness. In such a case, auction competition could potentially drive prices far beyond normal modern cent levels. But again, this would apply to a single extraordinary specimen, not to ordinary circulation coins. Now we arrive at the philosophical layer. Why does the idea of a valuable penny captivate people so strongly? Because it represents hidden potential. It symbolizes the dream that something small and overlooked could be extraordinary. That dream fuels curiosity. And curiosity is the foundation of collecting. The 2016 D penny, while not realistically worth millions, still carries significance. It represents a continuation of a design that began over a century ago. It reflects modern minting precision. It captures a specific year in American history. It teaches collectors about grading science, metal composition, error detection, supply analysis, and market economics. If we forecast 50 years into the future, the coin will likely remain common but collectible as part of full Lincoln cent sets. High-grade certified examples may hold steady premiums. Dramatic authenticated errors, if any are discovered, will remain specialized collectibles. But the base coin will not transform into a rare numismatic treasure without extraordinary circumstances. At this stage, we have explored nearly every analytical dimension: physical specifications, minting technology, grading science, preservation chemistry, market psychology, registry competition, survival modeling, investment comparison, cultural trends, and long-term forecasting. As we now arrive at the final part of this complete and detailed journey into the 2016 D1 cent coin, it is time to bring everything together into one powerful and realistic conclusion. We have examined this coin from every possible angle: its design, weight, metal composition, minting process, grading standards, preservation science, market economics, collector psychology, hypothetical error scenarios, long-term forecasting, and the reality behind exaggerated value claims. Now we step back and see the full picture. The 2016 D Lincoln cent was struck at the Denver Mint and carries the small d mint mark beneath the date. It weighs approximately 2.5 grams and is composed primarily of zinc with a thin copper plating, the standard composition for cents produced since 1982. On the obverse, it features the enduring portrait of Abraham Lincoln, a design first introduced in 1909. On the reverse, it displays the Union Shield design introduced in 2010, symbolizing national unity and strength. These details place the 2016 D penny firmly within the modern shield cent era, a period defined by technological precision and high volume production. From a production standpoint, the coin was minted in very large quantities. This high mintage immediately limits absolute rarity. Unlike legendary key-date Lincoln cents of the early 20th century, the 2016 D penny was not produced in scarce numbers. It was not a transitional metal year. It was not associated with a mint closure or historical anomaly. It represents continuity rather than disruption in American coinage history. When evaluating value, we must always separate fact from hype. In circulated condition, the 2016 D penny remains worth its face value, 1 cent. That is its legal tender value and its realistic market value in everyday use. In uncirculated condition with strong red luster, it may carry a modest premium among collectors. Certified high-grade examples, especially those graded at the very top of the population scale, may command higher prices in registry competitions. But these premiums are based on condition rarity within a large overall supply. There is no verified auction record or documented numismatic evidence supporting extreme valuations such as $199 million for a standard 2016 D penny. Extraordinary prices in coin collecting are reserved for coins with extreme rarity, historical significance, unique mint errors, or documented one-of-a-kind status. The 2016 D penny, as a regular circulation strike, does not meet those criteria. However, this does not mean the coin is unimportant. Quite the opposite. The 2016 D penny serves as a perfect educational example of how modern numismatics works. It teaches the difference between face value and collector value. It demonstrates how grading impacts price. It shows how large mintages influence supply. It illustrates how hype spreads online and why verification is essential. And most importantly, it highlights how even a common coin can open the door to deeper historical and economic understanding. If we project into the future, 30, 50, or even 100 years from now, the 2016 D penny will likely remain a common but collectible piece within complete Lincoln cent sets. High-grade certified examples may retain modest premiums. Dramatic authenticated mint errors, if discovered, will remain specialized collectibles. But the standard coin will not transform into an ultra-rare treasure unless an extraordinary documented discovery changes its classification. The true value of the 2016 D penny lies not in unrealistic jackpot expectations, but in knowledge. It represents a moment in time, the year 2016, preserved in metal. It reflects modern minting technology, American history, and a design lineage that stretches back more than a century. It has passed through countless hands, participated in daily commerce, and quietly carried its place in the economy, and perhaps that is the most powerful lesson of all. Value in coin collecting is built on evidence, rarity, condition, and demand, not on speculation alone. The excitement of searching through pocket change is part of the hobby's magic. But the real reward comes from learning, studying, and understanding the forces that shape the numismatic world. So when you hold a 2016 D penny, you are holding more than 1 cent. You are holding a small piece of modern history. You are holding an example of advanced minting precision. You are holding a teaching tool for economics, metallurgy, grading science, and collector psychology. Its monetary worth may be modest, but its educational worth can be significant. This completes the full deep analysis of the 2016 D1 cent coin: its design, weight, composition, mint mark, history, realistic market value, and long-term outlook. The journey from hype to truth reveals a clear conclusion. The 2016 D penny is a common modern coin with limited but genuine collectible interest, valuable primarily in high-grade certified condition or as part of a complete series, and not supported by evidence for extreme multi-million-dollar valuations. And with that, our complete exploration comes to an end.